Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're looking at a literal tectonic shift in the global tech landscape. For the longest time, the gap in AI's cybersecurity capabilities between the United States and China seemed pretty firmly set in stone. But as we're going to see today, that gap, it's rapidly closing. The whole dynamic is shifting beneath our feet, and we've got some absolutely fascinating new data to unpack together.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because the core mystery we're tackling in this explainer is honestly mind-boggling. How is an emerging open-weight model suddenly tying the highly guarded proprietary systems built by the world's massive tech giants and doing it at roughly half the cost? It's a huge question, and the answer fundamentally challenges everything we thought we knew about the future of digital defense.
So, Part 1. The AI Cybersecurity Race.
Which brings us to Part 2. Meet Zhipu AI's GLM 5.2.
To really grasp the stakes of this race, we have to acknowledge just how complex modern cyber threats actually are. We're talking multifaceted, lightning-fast attacks that human defenders literally cannot keep up with on their own anymore. Enter Zhipu AI. They're a Beijing-based company with deep roots in the prestigious Tsinghua University, and they just dropped an absolute bombshell. Look at this number, 744 billion. That is the number of parameters making up GLM 5.2. It is a massively scaled open-weight system. And when we talk about parameters in AI, we're basically talking about its neural connections, right? Its capacity to learn, recognize intricate patterns, and make complex decisions. Building an open-weight system at this staggering scale is a monumental feat of engineering all by itself.
Let's move on and see how this builds, because that massive parameter count, it's really only half the story. The other critical number here is 1 million. That is the size of GLM 5.2's context window. Having these two huge numbers back-to-back, 744 billion parameters and a 1 million token context window, just completely cements the sheer scale and the raw ambition of what Zhipu AI has released into the wild.
Now, if you aren't super familiar with the jargon, a context window is basically the maximum amount of text, data, or code an AI model can process, analyze, and remember at one single time. So why is this an absolute game changer for cybersecurity? Well, with a context window of 1 million tokens, GLM 5.2 doesn't just have to look at tiny, isolated snippets of code anymore.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 3, the Automated Vulnerability Hunter.
Because of that massive window, it can process entire code bases all at once. It's like reading an incredibly long, complex technical manual and keeping every single character, cross-reference, and subtle clue perfectly in its memory simultaneously. And this brilliantly illustrates where this MIT-licensed model actually stands on the global stage. According to the research firm Artificial Analysis, GLM 5.2 currently ranks as the third most capable AI overall. It sits right behind Anthropic's Claude Fable and OpenAI's ChatGPT 5.5, but, and this is wild, it notably ranks ahead of Google's Gemini. It's just a striking reality check that puts the rapid advancement of this open-weight system into direct perspective against the world's most recognizable proprietary giants.
But hey, we don't just have to rely on general tier lists. We have actual empirical evidence specific to digital defense. The security research firm Graphistry actually put GLM 5.2 to the test on the CyberSecurity Security Agent benchmark. The result? A 28 out of 59 solve rate. Now, this isn't some theoretical guess. It's a hard, proven metric of how well the AI performs when it is actively hunting for complex cybersecurity threats in a simulated environment.
Which brings us to, honestly, an incredible takeaway from this research data. When you compare Zhipu AI's open-weight GLM 5.2 against those proprietary systems from Anthropic and OpenAI, that 28 out of 59 score means they are literally tying on specific cybersecurity benchmarks. Just let that sink in for a second. An open-weight model is matching the performance of the US proprietary giants in this specific arena, and it's doing so while operating at roughly half the cost. It fundamentally shifts the entire economics of automated cyber defense.
All right, let's pivot to Section 4, 360 Security's Tu Longfeng.
Now, what's really interesting about this next development is what happened at the recent ISC.AI 2026 conference in Beijing. Zhao Hongyai, the founder of 360 Security Technology, stood up and made an incredibly bold comparison. He explicitly called their new tool China's version of Mythos, which is, of course, a direct reference to Anthropic's highly regarded proprietary model. That is a statement of immense confidence, right? It clearly outlines the exact benchmark they are measuring themselves against in the global arena.
So, what exactly did 360 Security bring to the table? Well, they introduced two specialized AI-powered cybersecurity tools. The first is Tulongfeng, which is built specifically for automated vulnerability discovery, so essentially acting as the offensive threat hunter. The second is Yitianjin, which focuses on cyber defense and incident response, acting as the shield when an attack is actually underway.
To back up that incredibly bold mythos comparison, Zhao shared some very concrete, empirical evidence regarding Tulongfeng's real-world results. This system didn't just run theoretical lab tests, it was put to work out in the wild and identified a staggering 3,432 software flaws. Even more critically, 105 of those flaws were independently confirmed by Chinese government authorities. This completely grounds our whole explainer today in actual, proven threat hunting success. It proves these tools aren't just concepts, they are highly operational right now.
Which brings us to our final point, Section 5, the Human-AI Defense Strategy.
Now, despite the massive numbers and the really aggressive comparisons we've talked about, there is a level of pragmatic realism here. Zhou objectively acknowledged that a 20 to 30% capability gap still exists when comparing their technology overall to the absolute leading US models. They aren't claiming total technological superiority across the board just yet. They're very realistically acknowledging exactly where the frontier currently lies.
So the crucial point is really captured perfectly in this quote from Zhao. Building a professional attack and defense team matters more than relying on a single advanced AI. I mean, this is a profound philosophical statement about modern cyber warfare. They don't view artificial intelligence as some sort of magic bullet that just completely replaces human expertise. No, the ultimate defense strategy is viewed as a deep human-AI collaboration. The AI comes in and does the heavy lifting of processing millions of tokens and spotting those incredibly obscure flaws, but it's the professional human teams that guide the actual strategy and execute the final maneuvers.
Which leaves us with this final, genuinely provocative thought to ponder today. As we look at the incredible strides made by Zhipu AI and 360 Security, achieving so much with permissive licenses and massive open-weight systems, we really have to ask, will the future of cyber warfare be dominated by these highly accessible, massive open-weight models, or will the proprietary giants find a way to maintain their edge? The global tech competition is absolutely accelerating, the technological gaps are closing fast, and the way we secure our digital world is transforming literally right before our eyes. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep your curiosity sharp, and I'll catch you next time.